So combine season is officially upon us once again. Generally speaking, very much looking forward to this next couple of months. As I've been pretty vocal about elsewhere, last year my first go around at this conclusively just got my ass beat. It was a really really disruptive process for me. It was a very fast moving thing. It was a lot of challenges that I didn't really anticipate. A lot of the things were just kind of new for me, to include working in a team setting, which was the first time I had done that in a few years. And despite all of that, it was, there were still iterations of fun. It was still an enjoyable process, and again, probably the steepest learning curve that I've had as a professional. Coming into it this second go around, or this second year, and now having some clear familiarity with the team, with the people I'm working with, spending a lot more time with Les and Chris and everyone else, I'm definitely in a much more confident state. But the last week or two has been a lot of reflection, a lot of introspection, thinking back on last year. Where did things go wrong? What were the shortcomings? What were the real challenges? And how do we translate that into the, kind of recalibration of coming into year two? So wanted to just kind of share a couple of, general thoughts or points on this for how it relates to this evolving role of being a coach or a practitioner. The combine setting is a very interesting situation because, on one hand, it is the most visible and the most controlled setting that we'll ever have as a coach, unless you work in a university or maybe even a professional setting. But for those of us in the private sector, for sure, this is the most controlled situation that we'll have. We know who's going to be there. We know exactly the time points that we have to work towards. We know exactly what the outcome goals need to be, and we have, in our case, we have a very good situation where we're able to pretty much control or dictate the majority of those days. But I wanted to come up with a couple of just heuristics for myself to really kind of avoid making the same mistakes as that were made last year. And the first thing is lead with adaptability. So the underlying heuristic here is firm barriers navigated loosely. And this is something that I have aligned to for a very long time. And it's something that I think just fits very, very well for the coach and practitioner profession. Firm barriers navigated loosely. So for me, I am a chronic habitual planner. And to use Les as the counterpoint here, he is much more comfortable in just this responsive flow, go with what's going on, and we'll figure everything out along the way. And for me, that's just not how I've operated. So I've had to figure out how to be less rigid and just very constrained on needing to have control over so many elements of my work situation, and just be able to fall into this adaptability, role or demand. Because with the combine, as it is very predictable in some sense, it is also the most volatile and just unpredictable event that you can imagine. And there's so many people that are feeding into it, and there's so many different schedules and ideas and demands and all these different things. So firm barriers navigated loosely for me is kind of this middle ground of, I need to understand what the clear demands are, what are the overarching outcomes that we're looking for, and then how we kind of shift and navigate through that. That's where this adaptability concept comes in, where sometimes we just don't have visibility or foresight. We don't have control over the situation. We don't know what an athlete's background is, or we don't know, what type of person they are, their personality traits. And we have to be able to be the ones that are going to adapt to that situation to keep everything moving forward fluidly. The second thing is find the signal, remove the noise. So the common cliche here is, respond, don't react, which there is a lot of power to that simple statement. But I think this aligns closely where, again, we'll have days where we're exchanging 400 or 500 messages. We've got multiple emails. We're trying to get in touch with different people. And so it can get very, very noisy, and to the point where the signal gets lost. What we are trying to do, what we are focused on doing, or the key outcomes that we have for that day or that week, those almost get muffled because there's so much noise around us. And this is something you don't have to work in the combine to relate to. Again, if you work with groups of 40 or 50 high school athletes at a time, you work with youth athletes, your world is noise versus signal. So some of the strategies for this for me have been multiple planning arrangements. I have something on my laptop, I have something in my phone, and then I have a whiteboard, and then I have a handwritten notebook with me at all times. What I find is that my handwritten notes are just the immediate dump. Just get the thought out, make sure it's down, okay, on to the next thing. Then what I'm doing is at the end of the day, we have a review period. So for me, it's going to be between 7 and 9 p.m. We get through dinner, we have family time, we get Layla down. Then I have to go back through and I have to read what were those notes, what were those thoughts. Usually those are player related. Then I have to go through my computer. Those are usually more coach to coach or to somebody's agent. Then I have the review of the data for the day. So for me, the clearing the noise is just getting the thought out, making sure it's down somewhere, and then being very deliberate about that review window in the evening and going back and reading through these things and kind of filtering it so that I know that the signals are still being sent out. The third thing, and this may be a surprise for some of you who actually know me personally, is, don't forget the joy in the work. And last year, that was something that got eviscerated for me pretty quickly, was that I just did not have fun with it. And a lot of that was self-imposed. But I think we lose sight of this sometimes, where we just get consumed by the stress, we get consumed by the pressure, we get consumed by the demands, and we start to just kind of lose touch with, like, I'm working in fucking pajamas with, future professional athletes doing some stretching and mobility and strength work. Like, it's, at the end of the day, it really isn't that serious. This means a lot. This work is important. And for the sake of these athletes, this is a life-changing 6 weeks, 8-week process. So it doesn't undermine the significance of it, but we still need to retain that joy, because I do believe that once the joy gets stripped, the quality of work gets compromised. So for these next couple of weeks with the newsletters, we're going to kind of do like a follow along, or here's an insider view or insight view of what this combine process looks like. And I'm looking forward to see how we're able to kind of correct course from some of these things that we missed on last year.